Hey y'all, welcome back to the Healthy Hotgirl Podcast, where we dive into the journey of self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. I'm Cynthia Peña and I'm your host, and today I wanted to share a personal story with you. One that took me from feeling lost and disconnected from myself to discovering the transformative power of yoga and alcohol-free living. This journey is about embracing who we truly are, shedding old patterns, and finding peace and purpose in our lives. So, without further ado, let's get started. The search for change. I found myself looking for a lifestyle change, and simultaneously, I stumbled upon yoga. I was craving something to get me out of the funk that I had found myself in. At this point, I had changed jobs, moved, exited a relationship, and a few friend groups. And yet, I still was feeling lost. My usual tricks weren't working, and those tricks only led to more toxicity. And I finally realized that they were leaving me more empty than filling me up. And maybe they always did, but there was that dopamine rush, like my mom likes to say, or that adrenaline rush that just keeps you high on reckless decisions. And we're at the point where time is our most valuable resource. It's the one thing that you can't get back. You can get more money, you can get more friends, you can get another job, but you can't get more time. So we don't have time for choices that make us feel like shit afterward and make us feel the shame gremlins, as Brene Brown says. So, in search of that, I ended up stumbling upon yoga. My friend Ruby, who I had as my first guest for the podcast, she had something that I had never seen before. She had created a new life for herself. She completely transformed her lifestyle, her friend group. She was living alcohol free and she was deeply committed to her healing, and I wanted whatever juice she was sipping on. So when I asked her what the secret was, she said that we actually met in a coaching program. So she ended up letting me know that yoga teacher training was the thing that really brought everything together for her. So I decided to sign up. The intention behind yoga is to bring more awareness not only to your body, but your thoughts and your experiences. Yoga reminds you the power of your choices and it guides you to take ownership of your life. Yoga is literally more than just physical postures. It is meant to be a lifestyle and a way of living. I want to share a little bit more about my journey under the influence. I honestly don't really remember the first time that I consumed alcohol or drugs. I knew I was in middle school and I know that I wasn't really into it right away. It wasn't until I got to high school where I really took a liking to partying and drinking. And the thing that had the allure for me was like, people for the first time in my life wanted to be my friend. And in hindsight, I just wanted to be loved. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be valued. I wanted to be appreciated. I know that my parents loved me as best as they could, but the warmth and love that I needed and the development of attachment to them that I needed as a child was often missing. So when people befriended me and boys were attracted to me, I accepted it because it felt good. It felt good to be wanted. I was lost and I just didn't really know who I was. I had no concept of values or standards or things to look for in healthy relationships. And I was forced to grow up really quickly and experienced the impact of generational trauma. And I want to be a little bit gentle here because a couple weeks ago I went out with a friend to see It Ends With Us, and we sat down and we processed the movie afterward, and she asked me if I had saw myself as a victim, and to be honest, I don't. And there's a lot of experiences from my childhood that I just ran from. So I spent a lot of my life running away from pain, running away from experiences, running away from my identity. And I am a out of sight, out of mind person. And so I want to categorize the trauma correctly, but I want to just share that in terms of physical abuse, I was definitely not like beaten. I was disciplined. I'm from an era where you were physically disciplined, at least maybe in my household. And so it was things like that were normal for me, but I experienced the impact of emotional neglect, addiction, domestic violence. My mom grew up with a lot of domestic violence in her household. I know that my dad did as well. My parents physically disciplined me, and I think that there was history of also sexual abuse in my family that trickled down to my early childhood experiences. And I was exposed to a lot growing up, and I think I was a little bit numb to violence, to trauma, to these types of experiences. They didn't really scare me. It was normal. I again grew up exposed to these things. And so when I went into high school and I was exposed to violence and toxic relationships, it just became very normal for me to be around violence, physical fights. I had been in many physical fights. Lots of my friends were in physical fights, men in unhealthy relationships, getting cheated on or cheating on people to get back at people. Like all of these things were very normalized. Everyone that I knew drank. I don't think there was anybody hanging out with us that was sober. And so it just felt like this is what you do. You drink, you do toxic shit, you have fun, you laugh at your pain, and you just keep it pushing. So when I was befriended by people, I just eventually became who I needed to become to survive. And I was far from that little girl who loved Sesame Street and was obsessed with the Cookie Monster and was pure and innocent with good. I became who I needed to survive. I don't really remember a lot of my childhood. I remember not having a good time. I remember disassociating. I do remember my parents trying to create joyful experiences for me, but I do remember feeling very lonely, spending a lot of time in my room, feeling like I was always wanting or missing or needing something. And so I wanted to find somebody who could love and appreciate me. I grew up also in a household where loving yourself and pouring into yourself wasn't something I seen. It was more living in fight or flight, having lots of cortisol and adrenaline and working hard and pushing and operating in your masculine. And so I think for me, when I first started getting attention from boys, I just accepted it. And I remember the turning point for me of when I decided to transition into this defining party phase of my life was when most of us have experienced a toxic first love, and one where we feel like we're the exception to the rule. And if you haven't seen Hulu's show Tell Me Lies, it's been very cleansing for me to watch that show because I feel like it mirrors just a lot of the things that I experienced or witnessed or was a part of or excused, because you're just so drawn into this toxic love. But in that toxic cycle, I do remember being in a phase where I was, or in a continuous cycle of waiting for someone to show up for me and being screwed over. And I just decided, like, I am done being screwed over. I'm done having people make an idiot out of me. And I am going to have fun. I'm going to show these people that I don't give a fuck. And I am going to be the fun party girl. And so that's where my teenage part, Sin City, kind of took over, and I entered the party phase. And the other defining moment that I remember of this party phase is that I was 15 years old and I was hanging out with my friends. They were a little bit older than me. They were 16, and we were at my friend's house and we decided to get wasted. We were three, again, high school girls, and we drank about a fifth and a half of Captain Morgan. And I remember it was like sickest, drunkest I had ever gotten. And I remember my friend was like, drink some milk, you'll feel better. And that was it. I was hooked and just committed to this new identity, to this new, I think, connection with these girls, and had established like this sense of loyalty and safety. And all three of us, I think our parents were not fully present in our lives for different reasons. At this point in my life, my mom was actually doing a tour in Iraq, and we always thank her for her service as a veteran. But I think that definitely cost our relationship and contributed to and exacerbated the trauma that was already there. And so me and my friends began living this reckless life of partying, fighting, stealing alcohol, exploring drugs. And I was deeply committed to this identity where we could protect each other and keep each other safe and have each other's back. And it became an identity of excessive indulgence and drinking. And there were a lot of consequences. I remember almost not graduating high school because I violated my probation and almost went to jail. And I was only 17. I remember, getting 6 MIPs, minor in possession of alcohols, before the age of 19. I remember losing my license. In hindsight, all of the things that I lost at that time, luckily for me, were very disposable things. Jobs weren't resume builders. I luckily didn't catch any crazy charges. I had a little, I would say, guardian angel looking out for me, physically and spiritually, helping me out. And I basically went through a lot from the age of 17 to 19, and it was my own consequences. I did lose some jobs. I did go to jail for an extended period of time twice. I was on probation 3 times. I got it revoked 2 times and finished 1 time. And looking back as a 33-year-old at my 19-year-old self, I know that I'm probably one of the lucky people who have been able to escape that version of my life and create and manifest something totally different. And that situation could have been destructive. Not that it wasn't, but even more destructive of ruining my life. And so as I grew older, alcohol became a central part of my life. I lived for the weekends and I couldn't really understand the true cost of what alcohol was having on my life. It helped me feel good. It helped me feel confident. It helped me be connected with people. I eventually realized I was pretty alcohol dependent. I didn't necessarily know how to socialize without it, how to navigate stress without it. And I didn't really have any other hobbies. I went to the gym, but other than that, alcohol, going out, drinking, partying was my main source of extracurricular activities. And one day I woke up and I realized I was constantly self abandoning to entertain people, whether that was a friend or whether that was like, romanticizing a new potential romantic connection, whatever it was. Like, I was continuously giving my power away to external factors, friends, potential partners, jobs. I wanted to give everything I had and pour into these external things, thinking that these things would care for me more than I cared for myself, which is just completely not the reality of the situation. And so there were a lot of small moments, and there were a couple of huge disaster moments that led me to exit jobs, exit friendships, exit relationships, exit the party scene. And I did find myself in a defining moment where I was in the self-sabotaging cycle of giving my power away once again. And it was again with thinking that someone was going to care about me more than I cared for myself. And I just remember being in the physical hangover of it, because obviously alcohol has hangover effects. For me, I realized as I grew older that alcohol exacerbated my anxiety. And so it was like literally pouring gasoline on my anxiety. And then and I also had like an emotional hangover. Like I didn't want to be in these situations anymore. And so this marked a pivotal time in my life that encouraged me to really dive into my personal development all of the way. I spent a couple of years half in, half out, making some better choices and still making some shitty ones. And I think that is part of the journey. I don't think it's always sustainable to just cold turkey it, and other people, that's their journey or their story or what needs to happen for them. That's okay. We're all on a unique path. For me, I think one of the things that has helped me be successful is just making slow, sustainable changes over time. And I think about my journey to living alcohol free, it was a gradual process over a 3-year period. And when I finally was able to say, like, I'm cutting alcohol out of my life, it was very permanent. I was very ready and I was very prepared. So let's chat a little bit about embracing sober curiosity. So in May of 2021, I found myself feeling a little lost again and broken. And I somehow winded up at Barnes and Noble. I found this book, Euphoric as Fuck, and I was really intrigued by, to be honest, the cover, and I wanted to know more about what it was. And it was about ditching alcohol to gain a more happier, healthier, and confident you. This book marked the beginning of my sober, curious journey. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, I didn't have any friends who were alcohol free or sober or not doing drugs and going to raves and partying on the weekend. So for me, finding support in this book was really life changing, and just having a glimpse inside someone else's journey and how alcohol impacted her life, how cutting it out helped her thrive, not only physically, right? So breaking down the actual science but behind what alcohol does to our brain, but also how we're able to move into a improved state of our personal health and well-being. So starting in May of 2021, I started to reduce my alcohol intake. I know that everybody's journey with alcohol is very different. And so I'll speak to my personal journey. I never learned how to drink moderately. I learned how to drink in excess and tolerance, build a high tolerance, and get wasted. I do remember drinking to kind of show that I was tough and strong and could hang. And also, there were other times where I was just drinking because I was having so much fun and I didn't want the night to end. And maybe that's not your story. I think we all have our vices, and I'm just only speaking to mine, but I started to slowly reduce my alcohol intake. So I would drink every other weekend, then once a month, then every couple of months. And that was really helpful. I was able to distinguish how I felt sober and then how I felt under the influence, and see the difference in my mental, physical health. And I noticed a drastic difference between my chronic anxiety and my ability to show up as the creator of my life. And I was able to dive into the impact of alcohol on my creativity and my well-being. I decided that I wanted to show up fully for myself, both personally and professionally, and alcohol was getting in the way of the work that I wanted to do, and it was just one of the many things that had to get cut out of my life. Let's dive into the turning point in finding yoga. So, on November 4th or 2023, so let's dive into the turning point and how I found yoga. So I was invited out for a friend's birthday. Um, it was November 4th, 2023, and I hadn't been out in a while, and I had kind of explored drinking in moderation, and that had been fine. So it was the first time in my life where I would like have one or two drinks and then just kind of like feel tired and so I was like, oh, my relationship with alcohol has changed. And this night I went out. I hadn't been out in months, like 4 months. And it's like, I just want to have a good time. And I drank so freaking much. I was hungover for 2 days. And like I said, debilitating anxiety, like don't want to leave my house, like can't think clearly for 2 days. And it was just not worth it. Like I don't have to like feel like shit, not be at my highest and best self for days and also like blow off the things that I wanted to do to work towards my life goals. So thank goodness nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. I didn't do anything crazy, because it's like always rolling the dice with alcohol. But I just decided like no more. I don't have time for this shit. I'm cutting out any type of decisions that make me feel like crap afterward. It's not worth it, even if it's for like a moment of or a high or fun. And so on November 5th, 2023, I completely cut out alcohol. And shockingly, I had been preparing for this moment, and it was a lot easier than I had anticipated. Sometimes I miss the rush and nostalgia of living a carefree life because the life that I am crafting, like it does take a lot of intention. And I love the intention, but if you've ever heard the saying, to that much is given, much is earned, having and creating the life that you truly desire and the life of your dreams is hard work. And it's getting up every day and it's being resilient and it's working towards your goals and it's being uncomfortable every single day. And sometimes that discomfort can resemble pain for your trauma brain, but discomfort equals growth and pain equals injury. And there's a really fine line to get to the next level. I made a commitment to make decisions that benefited my long term goals and that were going to be good for me in the long run. I wanted to create a life filled with good long term choices. I wanted to invest in myself, and I was done allowing myself to receive instant gratification for delayed success. So, alcohol had to go, and it's one of the best decisions that I have made for myself in my life. And maybe alcohol isn't your vice, but you might have something else that you've been holding on to that is holding you back. Maybe it feels like it's giving you something in the meantime, but you can live without it. And if it's hurting you, I hope that this podcast inspires you to let your vice go. Looking back, I saw that alcohol was actually the mechanism or tool that allowed me to get further and further disconnected with myself. I thought it was an escape. I thought it was something that empowered me to feel good, but it actually took me into a foggy maze where I lost the true essence of who I was. And circling back to the beginning of this story, I found myself lost. I found myself disconnected, and I was craving some support, a tool, a resource to help me find my way back to my purest parts of myself. And yoga became that tool. Yoga and meditation and breath work and holistic practices are tools and resources that allow us to connect with the purest parts of ourselves. It allows us to pause and find stillness and be mindful of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, the micro changes in our physical body. And every day we're changing. And so just processing what we've learned and integrating that. And yoga is the lifestyle of living a more aware and embodied life that's in alignment with your core values and your integrity. Yoga is more than just a fitness class. It is a mental, physical, and spiritual way of living. And it has helped me develop awareness of both my internal and external landscapes and connect deeply with myself. Yoga is more than just a fitness class. It is a mental, physical, and spiritual practice that has helped me develop an awareness with both my internal and external environments and connect deeply with myself. Healthy Hot Girl Wellness is here to provide women who feel disconnected with themselves due to unresolved trauma and stress from your daily life with yoga, self-care, and holistic wellness so that you can heal, lead vibrant and authentic lives, and thrive and walk in your purpose. As we wrap today's episode, I want to leave you with 5 takeaways. So, number 1, yoga is more than just physical postures. It is a way of bringing awareness to your body, your experiences, and your choices, guiding you to take more ownership in your life. Number 2, recognize your patterns. Maybe at one point these patterns, kept you safe in tough times, but now they could be self-sabotaging you and hindering you from your growth. Number 3, healing takes time. So be gentle with yourself, whether it's yoga, therapy, or forms of self-care. Find support, tools, and resources mentally and physically and spiritually and socially to help you navigate your healing over your chapter in your life that you're in. And number 4, create a life you love. You deserve more than just fleeting moments of joy. You deserve lasting fulfillment and love and happiness and success. Strive to make choices for long-term growth in your goals. Number 5, seek support. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and who are aligned with your future and not your past. Healthy relationships can provide you with a foundation to heal and grow and thrive. So if you're at a place in your life where you are craving a new outlet, a new experience, a new social circle, a new type of way to connect with yourself, I would love to invite you to my upcoming event on October 19th. So this is going to be a Healthy Hot Girl yoga and sound bath meditation event. This isn't just a class, it is a life-giving experience designed to help you connect with yourself more deeply and to go beyond the mat and into your heart and soul. See the details in the description to purchase your tickets. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. I'm excited to continue to take you on the journey of wellness and share insights and stories and tools and resources that help you live a more vibrant and authentic life. Until next time, take care and remember to radiate from within. Thank y'all so much for listening. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button below to get notifications of new monthly episodes and so much more. As I continue to grow this channel, be on the lookout for wellness videos to support you along your healing journey. It could be anything from a yummy recipe to a sound bowl meditation. Stay tuned. One more thing before you go, your feedback means the world to me. What's one thing that hit home for you during today's episode? Comment below and let me know.